Okay guys, I regrouped and got some gloves on. Okay, so I want to tell you about this movie that got pulled from Netflix. I forgot to review it, but I'm doing it now. It's called Young Sherlock Holmes from 1985, directed by Barry Levinson, produced by Steven Spielberg, written by Chris Columbus. Keep that last name in mind. Yeah, above the others. So, telling the story of Sherlock Holmes. Actually, this is told like the traditional Sherlock Holmes novels through the voice of Watson. I think his name's John Watson, right? And he's attending this boarding school as a teenager. This is the first time he meets Sherlock Holmes. This is throughout the movie. I mean, you get these placards telling you that this is fictionalized, that their first encounter is in the books, but they just want to reimagine it. You know, nowadays they don't give you that courtesy. They just up and reimagine things and act like it's gospel. So, at this boarding school, ice, 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 ice. We don't want to slip. We do not want to slip here. We do not want to slip. Crossing our bridge. Okay, are we good? We're good. So, this boarding school, he befriends Sherlock Holmes. He's already got a lot of his skills in deduction. He's trying to play the violin. He's not very good at it. He says he should be perfect by now because he's been practicing for 2 weeks. So things come easy to him. Incredibly hot chick lives at this boys' boarding school. Her name's Elizabeth. It's because her uncle had some ties to the group. He lives in this tower where he has inventions like this flying apparatus. Well, they have a rival at the school. He gets his hair dyed, and he's just a punk. He's mean to Watson, who has round eyeglasses. Keep a lot of these hints in mind, people. So, as the movie goes on, we find out that there's somebody assassinating people, and it's this Egyptian cult. They hit you with this poison dart that gives you hallucinations. This movie features the first CGI character ahead of The Abyss. So 4 years prior to The Abyss, they went from no CGI characters, I mean just slight CGI work anywhere, really as far as realistic CGI work, and to put it loosely, I know Star Trek II Wrath of Khan gets credit, but that's supposed to be a simulator they're looking at for Genesis effect. So this is the first implication of a character that's supposed to be realistic. And let me tell you, did a hell of a goddamn good job. I think it was ILM takes credit here. I think Dennis Muren. Hell, if you just have to guess and it's early CGI work, just go ahead and credit Dennis Muren and look up later if you're wrong. So, this stained glass knight, is about to fight this priest who got hit with the dart. He's imagining this, and the priest freaks out, ends up jumping into traffic and dies. There's other hallucinations that have very colorful, whimsical elements to them. Like at one point, Sherlock, Watson, or Holmes, Watson, Elizabeth, they're getting hit with the darts, and they have different hallucinations. I mean, some of them are really not quite dire, like Watson's is about food. It's kind of nice being the only person out here today. So, yeah, it's a very quality movie, guys. And it gets a little bit crazy dire, though. They find these Egyptian cultists, they sacrifice kids. One girl gets sacrificed. You get to watch it. They poured wax on her, like boiled her head or some shit, while she's mummified, like wrapped up. Anyways, haunting, truly haunting chorus while they're doing this. And then Elizabeth gets captured, hypnotized. Yeah, there are some fanciful elements like that. So they're going to do the same thing to her. Holmes and Watson intervene, rescue her. Actually, they got there in time because they used the flying contraption. So yeah, there's a lot of those kind of elements, folks. Then they have a duel with the bad guy who was the teacher of the boarding school, but he had been living like a lie this whole time, trying to get revenge on these. It's a little too outlandish of a revenge scheme, folks, but it's so overarching that if you spread this out over the course of several movies, what does some of this sound like to you? Harry Potter. Who directed the first 2 Harry Potter films? Chris Columbus, the guy who wrote these. Coincidences. Draco Malfoy sure looks like the bully. He plays a bully, right? Sure looks like the bully in this movie. Watson looks a hell of a lot like Harry Potter. British boys in a boarding school. A trio, 2 boys and a girl. Fencing. Maybe hallucinations could be interpreted as magic. Hypnotism, magic right there. Teachers talking about potion lessons sure looks like boarding school learning in this movie. There are similarities, people. Now, this movie was not a hit in the slightest sense of the word, and that's astonishing. If you watch this, you're thinking, well, holy shit, in 85, what are your choices? Yeah, Goonies, okay? But you can't just watch Goonies all year round. I mean, this looks like this should have been a tentpole big movie. There's nothing cheap about it. They do some great claymation stop motion effects. Like I said, the CGI should have been enough to get some people's butts in the door. But I'm afraid this movie is too dark for kids. You probably won't hear me say that too much, but this is a movie I believe is aimed at children, but it stars kids who are like, in their late teens. I think Elizabeth's 20 in this movie. And you have a lot of death. You've got, similar to Temple of Doom, you have the cultists. Elizabeth gets killed at the end. I mean, imagine Hermione dying at the end of the first Harry Potter film. Now, if you expand what happens in this one movie, that's one finger, across several films, it sure feels like a Harry Potter movie, doesn't it? Or a series of them. The guy, the cultist leader of this group, he becomes Moriarty, the arch nemesis to Sherlock Holmes. It's revealed at the very end in one of the better Monk's rewards, to steal a term from the late Roger Ebert, who I disrespect very much. Yeah, a lot of things to consider, folks. Was it just too dark? Maybe if she didn't die. Maybe if it was built like every other movie coming out these days with the intention of being a franchise. Imagine them having a different mystery where they only shed a little bit of light on the reality of who is at this boarding school. Imagine it set out to span 3 films, like everything done today. They don't even greenlight a movie this well made today without the intention of rifling off sequels and spin-offs. Maybe it had something to do with Sherlock Holmes. Maybe people were just not enamored with the character to this extent. Maybe they didn't feel he needed a reboot. Maybe they hadn't warmed up to the idea of a reboot like it seems to be welcome now, even though I disdain such. But one last note here. It's cold out here and I can't remember shit. But the chick who wrote the Harry Potter movies, it has a male's name. I can't remember her name. Yeah, leave some comments, goddammit. Chew me out in the comments. It's freezing as hell. I had to get gloves. So anyways, did she rip this movie off? I do believe so. Now in book form, it probably wasn't entirely evident. She already had a hit book series. Then by the time they start making the movies, they say, we're going to run into some serious issues with Steven Spielberg if we go this route. How do we save face? Okay, Chris Columbus, a lot of this looks like it's your idea. You wrote it. Why don't you direct these movies? Does that sound fair? I'm sure you're going to make a shitload of money. He goes, okay, fine, I'll direct 2 movies. Boom, there you go. Harry Potter chick stole from Young Sherlock Holmes.